Hey guys, Max here, filming the second episode of Season 3 of Magic the Vlog. Jake's been super busy at work this week, so it's just going to be me. I'm walking around campus right now, just hanging out, basically, chilling. We got some cool stuff for you this week. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about one of the ways that I like to relax, take a break, and help myself from not getting too wrapped up in the game competitively. I've got my friend, Nick Langenhorst. He's basically a level 3 pro, and he's gonna do a deck tech for you guys of a modern deck. If you haven't heard of modern, he'll give a little explanation about what that format's all about. It's really sweet, and we'll just give you guys a taste of that. I'll probably post the full deck tech in a separate video for you next week, or maybe probably still this week. This should be a sweet episode, so let's jump right in. This may sound contradictory, but one of the best ways you can keep yourself on top of your game is by not playing. And I give this advice to you guys because it has worked for me so well in the past that I'm sure it can work for you guys. So basically, I know a lot of you are FNM warriors like me. You grind it out every week, you go to the FNM, see, pretty much, I consider myself to be the best player at my FNM, maybe the second best, but even then, even at that level, sometimes it's not enough. So if I ever, miss first place more than like 2 or 3 weeks in a row, I know that something's wrong. I know I need to do something to fix the situation. So I take a week off. I don't play FNM that week. Instead, I just think of new decks, think of new card interactions, think of new ways to get myself back on top and make sure that I can still defeat everybody else in my FNM and go undefeated, which is what normally happens when I play an FNM. And after taking this week off, for example, I did this last Friday. I did not play in an FNM. So I know that next week I'll be back on top of my game. I'll be able to go undefeated, win more packs, and it'll develop my game as a Magic player. It'll help me take my game to the next level. I know if a lot of you guys tried this out on your own, you'll probably find that it will really help you out.
Hey guys, my name is Nick Langenhorst. I'm a Magic player. I started doing Shards of Alara block, so I've been around for a little while, but not a super long time. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite formats today. It's Modern. The reason I like this is Legacy is really, really fast, and if you don't have a really good start in Legacy, you just get crushed. There's some really, really powerful strategies and stuff like that. And for me, Standard gets a little stale. You run out of things to do, and it gets kind of boring sometimes. So Modern is just kind of a perfect sweet spot. It's not super fast, and there's a ton of different things you can do in the format, which makes it always really interesting. I've played in a number of Modern tournaments. Most notably was Grand Prix Lincoln. I ended up going 6-3 day 1, barely missing day 2. And so in the course of those 9 rounds, I played against, I believe, 7 different decks, which is crazy. What I played there was a Bant deck. It's a kind of a mid-range, good stuff deck, and I'm going to kind of walk through that with you guys today. So the main, the bottom of my curve is creature. The bottom of my creature curve is going to be 4 Noble Hierarchs and 2 Bird's Paradise. These are just mana dudes to accelerate you so you can get your higher quality threats. Since we are running Bant, and that's white, blue, and green, you got some light mana. You don't run a ton of mana in Modern because you don't want to get flooded out. And so these guys just kind of let you have some creatures that accelerate you so you can hold up counter back up while you're bringing out your threats. For my 2-drops, I have 2 different ones. I have Tarmogoyf. He's just one of the best creatures in the format. He's amazing. He gets huge. He's a vanilla dude, and he just keeps getting bigger as you play the game. Then after that, I have 3 Kasali Pride Mage. This is my favorite card in the deck. He might not look like much, but he's a good beater. He's got Exalted. He disrupts a lot of the important things in the format with his Destroy Target Artifact or Enchantment, which is huge. And he's just really efficient, comes down quickly, and he provides a good body for both attack and defense. Next creature I'm talking about is Knight of the Reliquary. In this deck we run a lot of fetch lands, so he gets big pretty quickly. He's a pretty strong guy, just a big beater, holds down the ground really well, stuff like that. After that I have 2 Geist Saint Traps. These guys are really good. They bring in some quick damage if you bring them down quickly, especially those mana dudes. They give you some really scary nut draws. If you go like turn 1 Noble Hierarch, turn 2, Geist of Saint Trap, and then turn 3, Elspeth, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. You can get in for 10 damage on turn 3, and that's pretty freaking scary. Next creature is Vendilion Click. I run 2 of these guys as well. This card is just an awesome value creature. You disrupt their hand, you get a really strong beater, and you get some flying attack and defense. And so like it's just something that's really important in the format. It gives you some versatility in the air to deal with some other threats. The next creature I'm going to talk about is one that's seen super often in Modern, but one that I really like for my deck. It's Rock's Warmonk. He's a 3 forward lifelink, and the 4 toughness is huge. Like he's the main reason. That's the main reason I played this guy. He doesn't die that easily because a lot of things in the format deal with 3s, like Lightning Bolt, Lightning Helix. Like they all deal 3 damage. A lot of people don't run hard removal, and so Rock's Warmonk is like critically important to dealing with these threats. He holds on the ground really well. The life gain's not an issue. It really helps when you're swinging in. Say you have an Exalted guy or 2 out there, swing on into them, gain 5 life. Like that's a pretty big swing in Modern. Next thing I'm going to talk about is a Planeswalker. It's Elspeth, Knight Errant. She's really good. The most notable clause on her that I use is the one that gives +3/+3 in flying. If you notice, I have a lot of ground creatures. So this is just one way that it's really good to push some damage through. If you have a knight, let's say you have a couple of fetch lands in the graveyard, so he's a 4/4, and then you have an Exalted creature or 2 out. This guy's swinging in for 7, 8, 9 damage, like in the air. That's really scary. Like you get some really big guys coming at you really quickly, and it only costs 4 mana. Like it's a pretty efficient threat, and it allows you guys to punch through really easily. So that's the main creature base, and the Elspeth is another way to get in damage. And then, like to defend your creatures and to have some disruption so that they can all get through. I run some spells, and some of those spells are, first of all, 4 Path to Exiles. This is just, in my opinion, the best removal spell in the format. A lot of people, either the curve starts really low, like in Zoo, so that they don't have a ton of use for extra mana, or that a lot of people are really greedy on their mana bases, so they don't have a ton of extra basic lands to go find with it. So it's just really good, efficient removal spell that deals with a lot of different creatures that might be getting in your way, so you can punch through damage to win. Next card I run is 2 Spell Pierce. This card's really strong. A lot of the format, if they aren't killing you with efficient creatures, they're coming at you with some really powerful spells, and so this card allows you to disrupt that and defend yourself really efficiently. Next card, I run 4 Rune Snag. This card's similar to Mana Leak, but the more you get of them in the graveyard, the better it becomes. Once you already have 1 in the graveyard, it's essentially a hard counter to anything in Modern. That's really huge. If you notice, I don't run Snapcaster Mages in this deck, and if I would be running Snapcaster, I'd be running Mana Leaks. But since I'm not running Snapcasters, my Rune Snags are going to stay in the graveyard, then I can be exiled with a flashback, which means that I'm going to want to have multiples of these things in the graveyard, so that's part of the reason I'm running Rune Snags instead of Mana Leaks. Like if I was running Snapcaster, I'd definitely be running Mana Leak instead. Next card I'm running is Negate. Like I said, there's some really troublesome permanents in this, or non-creature permanents and non-creature spells in this format that have to be dealt with, and sometimes they have the extra mana to deal with your Spell Pierce and stuff, and so I wanted to have a 1 of Negate to deal with stuff like that. The last card I'm going to talk about is Bant Charm. It was one of those cards I had an extra slot in my deck, and I kind of wanted to find something that was kind of a catch-all. And this card isn't an all-star against anybody, but it's not terrible against anybody either. I board this card out almost every single time, but at the same time, it's an awesome Game 1 card. And this taught me something about Magic that I hadn't really thought about before, is that like in my main deck, I have a card that's really versatile, so it's not terrible against anybody, and it's not amazing against anybody, but at the same time, like it's giving me an edge against everyone that I wouldn't normally have if I was going to deal with a card that was more hit or miss. And so it's one of those things that I never really thought about until I made this deck, is something like Bant Charm. I used to think, like, why would you have a card in your main deck if you're going to board it out every single time? And so, like, I'm always going to upgrade in my sideboard slots, but Game 1, this gives me an edge against everybody. It's good against the entire field.